Put your hand on your chest right now. Feel that. Every beat you just felt is one you'll never get back. And here's the strange part. Scientists have found that almost every mammal on Earth gets roughly the same number of those beats before it dies. About 1 billion. A mouse burns through its billion heartbeats in 2 years. Its heart is racing the whole time, well over 500 beats a minute. An elephant gets the same billion, but its heart barely moves, maybe 30 beats a minute, stretched out over 60, 70 years. Fast heart, short life. Slow heart, long life. It's one of the most consistent patterns in all of biology. And then you get to us. A resting human heart beats around 60 to 80 times a minute. Nothing unusual there. But do the math on our lifespan, and we don't get a billion heartbeats. We get closer to 3 billion, sometimes more. We are, by a wide margin, the biggest outlier mammal biology has ever measured against that rule. Something let us cheat the system life gave to every other mammal on this planet. For most of the animal kingdom, lifespan comes down to a brutal trade-off. Bigger body, slower metabolism, longer life. It's called the rate of living theory, and for over a century it more or less held up. Shrews live a year or two. Whales can live over a century. Bigger usually wins. But humans blow past what our body size predicts. Based on size alone, we should be topping out somewhere around 25 to 30 years. Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, rarely make it past 50 even in captivity with medical care. We're not just living longer than the pattern predicts. We're living almost 3 times longer. So biologists went looking for what makes our cells different, and one of the first places they looked was DNA repair. Every time your cells divide, your genetic code takes damage, tiny copying errors that build up over a lifetime. Most mammals accumulate that damage fast, and their repair systems just aren't built to keep pace. Human cells, by comparison, run some of the most efficient DNA repair machinery found in any mammal our size. There's also the matter of your cell's internal clock. At the end of every chromosome sits a protective cap called a telomere, and every time a cell divides, that cap gets a little shorter. In 1961, biologist Leonard Hayflick discovered that human cells can only divide a limited number of times before the telomere runs out and the cell stops replicating entirely. It's essentially a built-in expiration counter. Most short-lived mammals burn through that counter fast because their cells are dividing constantly just to keep up with a body racing through life. Human cells divide more conservatively, and our telomeres shorten at a noticeably slower rate than similarly sized animals, which buys our tissues extra decades before that internal clock runs out. Metabolism plays its own part here too. Anthropologist Herman Pontzer spent years measuring the actual daily energy burn of humans compared to chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans using doubly labeled water, a technique that tracks calories burned with real precision. What he found surprised a lot of biologists. Humans burn calories at a noticeably lower rate, cell for cell, than our closest great ape relatives. A slower metabolic burn generally means less cellular wear over time, which lines up with the same trade-off that lets an elephant outlive a mouse. We didn't just get better repair tools, we got a body that damages itself more slowly to begin with. Then there's the immune investment. Naked mole rats throw a wrench into the simple size equals lifespan story too. They're rodents smaller than a mouse, yet some individuals have been recorded living past 30 years. Researchers studying them found something remarkable: cells that resist turning cancerous almost entirely, a trait almost never seen at that body size. It's a reminder that lifespan isn't locked to size at all. It's locked to what a species evolved to protect. And in humans, what got protected most aggressively was the brain. That's where a researcher named Kristen Hawkes comes in. In the 1990s, she was studying the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer community in Tanzania, and she noticed something evolutionary biology hadn't fully accounted for. Human females, unlike almost every other mammal, routinely live decades past the point where they can reproduce. Most animals don't. A chimpanzee, an elephant, a whale, reproduction and lifespan track closely together. Once fertility ends, life tends to end soon after. Humans broke that pattern, and Hawkes proposed why. Grandmothers. Older women who could no longer have children of their own were still gathering food, teaching skills, and helping raise grandchildren, and the children with an active grandmother around had better odds of survival. Over enough generations, genes for a long post-fertile life got passed down alongside the genes for everything else, because a longer-lived grandmother meant a more successful bloodline. It's called the grandmother hypothesis, and it's one of the only proposed explanations for why menopause exists at all, in a species that otherwise treats every other biological system as expendable once reproduction is over. But grandmothering alone doesn't explain the whole picture. It explains why we live past reproduction. It doesn't explain why our childhoods stretch out so absurdly long in the first place. A newborn wildebeest is standing and running with the herd within minutes of being born. A human infant can't even hold its own head up for months. We are, without question, the most helpless newborns of any mammal on the planet, and we stay that way for years. That should be a massive liability. Instead, researchers studying brain development think it's the price of the trade we made. Our brains keep growing and rewiring long after birth, well into our 20s, in a process nothing else in the animal kingdom comes close to matching in duration. A body that finishes growing fast can start reproducing fast. A body investing that much time into building a brain needs a lifespan long enough to make the investment worth it. Evolution effectively bet on the long game and a body that can outlive the length of that bet. There's a third piece, and it has nothing to do with biology at all. It's about what was trying to kill us. Every wild mammal spends its life under constant threat: predators, starvation, exposure, disease with no defense against it. When death from the outside is nearly guaranteed early, evolution has almost no incentive to build a body that lasts. Reproduce fast, before something eats you. But somewhere along the way, early humans changed the equation. Fire kept predators away at night. Tools brought down prey too dangerous to fight barehanded. Social groups meant an injured member could be carried, fed, protected instead of left behind. Once external threats started dropping, the math shifted. A body that repairs and maintains itself became worth building, because there was finally a decent chance of living long enough to use it. Compare that to a Greenland shark, one of the only animals that might rival what humans pulled off. Some Greenland sharks are now estimated to be over 400 years old, swimming through frigid Arctic water so cold their metabolism runs at almost nothing. Their advantage isn't culture or cooperation, it's simply slowing down until decay barely happens at all. Bowhead whales offer a different clue, one written directly into their genes. Some bowheads are believed to live past 200 years, longer than any other mammal on Earth. And in 2015, a team of researchers sequenced the bowhead genome looking for why. They found mutations in genes tied to DNA repair and cancer resistance, including one called ERCC1 and another called BHLHE41, both directly involved in fixing damaged cells before that damage can spread. Here's the part that matters for us. Human geneticists studying rare families with unusually long lifespans have found some of their own longevity linked to variations in overlapping repair pathways. A 200-year-old whale and a 100-year-old human turn out to be leaning on some of the same biological toolkit, just tuned to very different degrees. Ours is the opposite overall strategy from the shark and the whale, though. Not slowing life down or leaning purely on cancer-resistant genes, but building a body durable enough and surrounded by enough support to keep running fast for far longer than it should. Put all these pieces together, repair systems and telomeres tuned for durability, a metabolism that burns slower than our closest relatives, an evolutionary bet that grandmothers and long childhoods were worth protecting, a species that engineered away most of what used to kill it early, and genetic tools shared in fragments with the longest-lived animals on the planet. And you start to see why we don't fit the 1 billion heartbeat rule the rest of the mammal kingdom follows so tightly. We didn't slow our hearts down like the elephant. We didn't shrink into near stasis like the shark. We just kept finding ways to buy more time out of a heart beating at an entirely ordinary pace. And maybe that's the part worth sitting with. Every other mammal's lifespan is essentially fixed the day it's born, written into its size and its metabolism, with almost no room to negotiate. Ours isn't. Ours has been rewritten again and again, by grandmothers who kept children alive, by brains that took decades to finish building, by fire and tools and each other. The number of heartbeats in a human life was never really fixed at all. We just kept finding reasons to earn more of them.